Something too that like I find really, really interesting about you, right? Like you're this photographer, artiste extraordinaire to the stars, right? You've captured Tom Hanks, you've captured Nick Cannon, Chance the Rapper, so many people that people would just dream of even meeting. And you get a couple of celebrities. I think many photographers will be happy with that, but you seem to get all of them.
Kind of handful.
You kind of get quite a bit of them, man. How did that happen? Like, when did you start?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to way like kind of the earlier years of, when I started my photography career, and I was a graphic designer, and then I picked up a digital camera to shoot for my design work. And then I just really fell in love with it. And then I convinced a nonprofit design client of mine to split the expenses on a trip to Africa. And that was where I really I experienced the developing world for the first time, and B, fell in love with photography and was like, wow, people pay me to fly around the world and take pictures. This is wild. So that kind of, fast forward that, I ended up coming back home, and I connected with another photographer to do website updates for him. And then eventually he was like, I kept bombing him with the questions about photography. And he's like, oh, maybe you should just come out and hang out with us on set. So I went out, hung out with him, he invited me to assist him. So I started assisting him for a while. And then that just really opened my eyes to the actual commercial viability of photography, that it's actually a career. I had no idea you could actually make a career out of that. And so that was very inspiring to me. And so I just started building a portfolio. And a couple of years later, I got a call from an ad agency, and they're like, hey, I'm, producing this job for Nike, and I got your name from an art director here, and we'd love for you to do a shoot. And he's like, oh, it's like, we wanted you to shoot Ben Roethlisberger and Brian Urlacher and Torrey Hunter, Albert Pujols. I'm literally writing these names down because I had no idea.
Right, Urlacher is my man, by the way. He's a legend in Chicago.
He is a legend, right?
I love him. When I see his face, especially with his new hair, I'm so happy for him.
I love it. So as a sports fan, you appreciate this. So yeah, that was my first big job. And that's kind of paved the way, but then it still took a couple of years before I actually saw another job that was of that size. And then I started shooting with, I did a couple more jobs for Nike down in Latin America. And then around 2009, I connected up with this, I was wanting to do another charity project. So I just randomly asked a friend, I was like, hey, I'm looking to get involved with a charity because I want to give back. I want to use my talents to be able to better the world as well as making money. But so he was like, oh, my friend Adam Braun he has this charity that he just started, and he's building schools for kids in the developing world. And I was like, oh, that sounds dope. So he connected us, we had a beer, and he was like, we totally jammed. And he was like, well, we're just getting started, so I don't have any money to pay you, but if you want to come to Laos in December, you're welcome to come, but I can't pay for you.
Wow. I
was like, I'm down. So I bought a ticket and flew out there, and we just traveled through the jungles of Laos and photographing the kids at the schools, and just kind of getting a really good start for branding imagery for that charity's brand. And that was kind of the start of this whole space. And a year later, I was hanging out with Adam, and he was like, yo man, check it out, my brother found this kid on the internet, he's going to be huge one day, his name's Justin Bieber.
Whoa.
Yeah, I was like, never heard of him.
Just who?
Yeah, but no, this was when Justin was nobody.
Yeah.
But he was Scooter is his brother, Scooter Braun.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, he's he found this kid, and he's building his career. And then a few months later, a year later, Justin just blew up.
Wow.
That's when that Never Say Never movie came out.
Yeah.
And then Scooter blew up from that movie as well. So all the while we're still working with the charity. And then, once Scooter blew up, he was just so hard to get on anybody's radar, or anybody to get on his radar, I should say.
Yeah.
And then Adam, he was gonna introduce me, but then never really happened. And then one day I get this email out of the blue from Scooter's email. I was like, what? He's like, hey Nick, this is Adam. I'm on Scooter's phone. We're in Guatemala right now. It's my brother's first time seeing the work on the ground, and We'd love for you to come down.
He's visiting Adam's
they were both
fundraiser.
Yeah, they were both visiting the schools in Guatemala.
Yeah.
So they,
Very sick.
at that point, they had opened up Guatemala as well. And then Ghana was the third country. So he was like, we'd love for you to come down. We'd love some photos for us, for the charity, and all that. So I ended up flying down a couple of days later and just hung out with them for 24 hours, went to all the schools, took some photos, and then became friends with Scooter. Wow. And then that kind of opened more doors, and then a few months later, I met Justin through him, and then he ended up connecting me to shoot Justin in Zurich. For Motorola, it was just like an advertisement
for probably like what did they have, like the Chirp phone or like the
it was one of those like flip phones back then. So yeah, flew out to Zurich, and that's where I shot Justin for the first time. I met him in LA like earlier, like over Christmas. I flew down to hang out with Scooter, and then we went and met up with Justin in the studio and went to a Clippers game with them. And so yeah, that's how I kind of just things spawned into that world. And then from there, just like, that opened more doors. Ended up meeting Usher and a few other people.